Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Doing
Good.
well, Leonard. Congratulations on your position.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Good news.
We've got a lot of good things coming on here in Newtown Township this year. Steve, I don't know if you can hear me, but Supervisor Roberts-Lycap is going to be joining as well. She's going to be calling in. So if we can promote her, and I'll text you her number so I don't announce it on our recorded line. I don't think she would appreciate that too much.
Len, are you hearing me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So we're taking,
Oh, low feedback.
so if I can, if everybody else could for right now, turn off their mics. Need to find out whether it's something. So they all are on mute. No, I have that mic off. I do. Just check if that's the thing I was checking.
You're muted, Steve.
Can you hear me now? My computer is muted. I don't think I've got another problem. Hold on 1 second. home. Yes. All right. Can you hear me at home?
Very faint.
I'm going to turn my mic off.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Test. Test. Is that better? No, it's still doing. Test. I am. All right, can the folks at home hear me now? Yes, okay. All right. So tonight we're doing this meeting virtually as well as in person. We are taking public comment one of four ways. You could have dropped the public comment off in the blue drop box at the front entrance of the building. We have checked that. There was nothing in that as of this afternoon. You may raise your hand during the Zoom portion or through Zoom, and we'll recognize you. Or you can do the phone option as well through the Zoom meeting. If either of those don't work, or you just want to make the public comment via email, you can make public comment via the email at publiccomment@newtowntownship.org. And this is true for every meeting while we're doing them both virtually and in person. If it's all right with you, I'll just do your call to order, get you set, and get you to the point where you appoint your first chair or your temporary chair, and then we can move forward.
Okay.
So I have Dr. Archer present. Let's see, Amy Blangriff.
Present.
Yep. Mark Carr. Welcome, Mark. You're a new member to the board. Welcome. Aaron Cook.
Present.
John Custer.
Here.
Anthony.
Present.
Yep, David. Let's see, where am I? Bethany.
Here, present.
And Joseph Falcon and Terry McCarthy. And also with us tonight are both Supervisor Altieri and Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, and George Sherritts is here. All right. I've done the roll call, and if you want to appoint a temporary chair, and then we can get the meeting going.
Okay. This is item number 4, appointment of a temporary chairman. I'd like to nominate Anthony DiVincenzo. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Committee comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Anthony, would you like to take over?
Absolutely. We're going to start with a moment of silence for whatever you'd like to think of at this time, loved ones, family, friends in our community. Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of
States of
America,
America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty.
Thank you. All right, is there, item 6, is there any public comment for the agenda items as they're listed today? We didn't have any, like you said, obviously on the blue inbox. I don't know if that email strain is being checked regularly, Steve, but I'm assuming not.
I do check the emails during the meeting, and I do not see any, and we do not have anybody in attendance on the Zoom, so we are No public comment, unless someone from the audience.
Okay. All right. Move on from that. Look to approve the agenda then. So is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second? Okay.
Second.
Let it be known the motion from John Custer and seconded by Dr. Dilly Archer. Motion is approved.
All in favor?
All in favor, oh, sorry. All in favor to approve the agenda for today?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it, and the agenda is approved. Next step is the election of the committee members. So, as John said, with the reorg for the new calendar year, first step is election chair. I move to nominate John Custer. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, all approved? Or all four?
Aye.
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 All opposed? None? Okay, John,
Okay,
you have the con again.
all right. Thank you very much. Next up is the election of the vice chair. I would like to nominate Anthony DiVincenzo. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Next up is election of a secretary. I would like to nominate Aaron Cook. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next up, number 9 is the minutes of November 16, 2021. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion approved minutes.
Second? Any
Second.
committee comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Minutes are approved. Next on the agenda are presentations. I just want to mention, I did get a call from Ken Taylor of the Running Place. He's got 2 employees with COVID, and he's the only one in charge of the store right now, so we'll try to get him at some point in the future. We do have Doug Humes. And Doug is chairman of the Friends of Marple-Newtown Trails. They have, as I understand, about 300 members, and this group is looking to provide some help to us moving forward. Doug, if you could come up to the base there, that would be great.
Printed out some things. I had handouts from. Thank you. Good.
What happened? Sir?
Okay. I'm Doug Humes. Just a little background. I was born and raised in Haverford, went to Haverford High School, went away to college and law school, came back, moved with my family to Newtown Square and lived there from about 1990 to 96. And I got plugged into the Newtown Square Historical Society. And so history is my passion. And then I got divorced and I had to move out of Newtown, but I moved right next door into Marple, and that's where I've been for the last 20 some years. And the trail that leads me here is that in Marple, we have a wonderful patch of 200 acres of woods behind Cardinal O'Hara High School in Don Guanella. And it was a secret known only to a handful of us for the last, I don't know, for 50 years. But the kids from Cardinal O'Hara had gone back there. They have built this whole system of ramps, and it's amazing what teenage energy can do. You go back there and you see what they've created just with shovels and energy. So I have biked back there, mountain biked back there, and run back there, and I've taken my children in those woods. And then around 2014 or 15, you wake up and you find out that the big bad developers are going to level the woods and build one of everything in creation. And so at that point, two guys from Haverford who were very active in trails and lots of other things in Haverford, Rich Carr and Pete Pugliosi. I don't know how they found me, but they reached out to me and they said, we're interested in putting a regional trails group together. Would you be interested in doing that? And at the time I was completely overextended. I'm involved in everything. And I said, you know, I'm interested in it and I'll do it until the right guy comes along. So that was 2015. I'm still waiting for the right guy to come along. But what they had, I said, what do you want me to do? And actually I said, and I know Mr. Trails in Newtown, this guy, John Custer. So pulled John in too for Newtown Trails. So it was unofficial. Just people interested in trails that want to talk, and you meet with each other and you get their ideas. The guys in Haverford are like light years ahead of us, but that's good because you learn from them. And so they have a website called havetrail.com. They have our trails, or Marple's trails and Newtown trails in there, and a lot of area trails. They have trails resources. They do an annual trails seminar. It's coming up, I think, in January, where they bring speakers in to talk about how to get these groups going, how to get trails in your community, and all the issues that come with having trails in your community. So I formed a Facebook group, Friends of Marple-Newtown Trails. And that's all we are right now. It's a Facebook group. And as of today, we have 342 members, which is good. It was useful for communicating to the community about the battle to preserve the Marple Woods. And amazingly, one day we woke up last summer and it had been done. The county bought the Marple Woods and is turning it into a county park. So we'll go from having a half-mile trail in Marple. That's our trail system. There's a trail in the Veterans Park on Lawrence Road. So now we have 200 acres that are right now filled with trails that made by people over time. So the trail group served its purpose in that way. But now we want to become a real trail group and do things related to those trails. And I'm not sure what all, I'm going to talk to groups like this and figure out what that is. One of the basic things is the trail cleanup, where you just get volunteers out there and you do what needs to be done to improve the trail. And of course, led hikes. So there's a lot of different people who lead hikes over there. We could do a history hike. there are old ruins there that we're working to preserve of an old whetstone factory and whetstone quarry. So there's teachable moments there. You get someone like John Custer can tell us about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees. And when I put that out in the group, people said, yeah, I'd like to, you know, could you do like a singles hike? And I thought, okay, you know, could you do a kids hike? So there are lots of ideas you can do. You need people to lead them. And so that's where we are right now, the challenge of getting more people involved. And right now, if you have a Facebook group, it doesn't cost anything. You get a website, Haverford has a website, then that costs money. You know, not a lot of money, but suddenly you're costing money. When people come to you and they say, I'd like to get involved in your group, but do you have like insurance? Are we a corporation? And you say, no, we're not. We're just a Facebook group. Well, I can't help you then, you know? And so we have to start looking into the whole incorporation process. There is a bill that just passed. That's one of the handouts I gave you, the House Bill 1694. It just passed the Pennsylvania House, I think December 15th, but it addresses that very concern. There are friends groups, Friends of Trails, Friends of Parks, and in a number of years ago, Friends of Pennypack Park, they actually were incorporated. They had insurance. They're there to do what we do, to help clean up the trails and lead hikes and things like that. And of course, they're sued when someone trips and falls there. They're among other people. The city sued, but anyone that's connected is sued. You know how lawyers are. So, so if that discourages anyone from getting involved at a higher level, then I'll just come out and clean up trash on Saturday. So this representative he's in Philadelphia, Driscoll, and others proposed this bill that basically says if you're a nonprofit or other volunteer group involved in things like this, you get limited liability. So that would be good. Except for as I read it, you still have to be a corporation. So you still have to incorporate. You might have to get the 501c3 designation. They're all good things, but they all cost money. And so now you're in an organization and you have to start worrying about fundraising and filing tax returns and annual reports. And so that's the next stage of growth, is to try to figure out what to do there. You know, for me, remember, I was the placekeeper waiting for the real guy to come along. So, and yet, as a lawyer, I can do these things. They're not huge tasks to perform, but it just becomes a more involved thing than a Facebook group. And yet, if we get more people involved, we can do more things. You know, it would be worthwhile to take the next few steps, because both Marple and Newtown have developed much more comprehensive trail plans, and I hope to live long enough to see them all implemented. You know, I love the idea of all the communities being connected, of trails that connect your historic sites and your shopping centers and your playgrounds and parks. It's a shame that it's not done, you know, 100 years ago, but here we are. You have to do it in your build out communities, but it's being done. And so I applaud Newtown and Marple for doing that, because it will be wonderful when it all happens. And it's wonderful now, even the parts that already exist. We're looking forward to doing some joint activities together, because this is a Marple and Newtown group. You know, we joined together for the high school. No one stops and asks whether they want to do a trail because it crosses over an imaginary line into another township. and hopefully, we'll have an integrated trail system with us, and then ties into Haverford, which ties into Radnor, which ties into Springfield. So it's a good time for trails in Delaware County. Yeah, I think that's largely, I wrote to the Representative Driscoll just to say, what do we have to do to make this thing move? I guess it still has to go to the Senate, and then if it, and yet it was voted 200-0. So I don't think there's a lot of opposition. There wasn't in the House. So I wrote to him to say, there are trails groups out here, whatever you want us to do, we'll do. If you want us to write letters, make phone calls, because that would be a great step forward for friends of trails like ours. And yeah, and then the other handout was just who we are, what we want. Send volunteers my way, and hopefully we get someone that stands up in the group and says, I'm Spartacus and wants to lead this thing, and then I will gladly turn over the reins to them. So no, any questions or concerns? Yes, ma'am.
So you have the Facebook page with 300 followers.
Right.
400 or 340. Do you have any liability because of that Facebook?
Everyone can get sued for anything. So yeah, it's a concern. It's a
Because I
concern.
started that meetup group, and I'm ready to turn it over to Steve after hearing you.
Well,
There you go. We've got like 165 there, and now I'm worried.
yeah, well, you have to do, there has to be some activity that triggers some potential liability.
Can I write a disclaimer on there that says, we do not assume any responsibility for any blah, blah, blah?
You can.
You can hand those out to people on the hikes and things, yeah.
Oh, you can? Okay.
Yeah. I'm worried. At the start, I talked about admiring the handiwork of these teenagers who, for generations, have built out this incredible system of. I guess it's for I don't know what kind of bike it's called. If anyone have young people that. They're small bikes, but you go up in ramps in the air and then do twists and turns and land on ramps coming down. So it's that type of thing, and it's an extended course. And I thought to myself, well, this is a bummer because, the first thing the county's going to do is level that. I don't know. I talked to friends in other places who have like townships with skateboard parks, which has probably comparable liability issues. And yet they say, it's there, you buy the insurance and hope that the major awful claim doesn't come at you, but there, it's what your risk appetite is in the township, and then for you personally, are you married?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, keep everything in joint names.
We'll come visit you in trail.
Yeah, this is not good.
Well, is it, yeah, well, again, if read the House bill, if you might be able to find yourself in there, and then maybe that won't, but yeah, as I asked the Driscoll, I said, we're not incorporated. And the language in here, it says either a nonprofit 501c3, which is you have to be incorporated for that, I think. Or there's a second, or an independent, volunteer-based nonprofit organization dedicated to the care, maintenance, preservation, blah, 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 of land for recreational purpose. I don't know, is your group about that, or is your group about something different?
Doug, do you know if Friends of Haverford Trails is incorporated? They are 501c3? I think they are.
I would assume they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the gold standard, so that's what we all.
The one thing I would say that as long as you're acting as a part of this group and acting as part of the township, I mean, if you get doing things outside of that or outside of our policies, that may be an issue, but while you're acting under the township and doing things under the trails and Greenways committee, I just want you to know you're covered by our insurance acting in that way. So so if you're doing that for that purpose, just know that that's the first step. Now, if you're running a separate Facebook page and things like that,
Right.
that's on you. But the thing that, when you're doing something for us and you're doing it in that way, I understand what Doug's talking about, and there are issues with that. And, you know, that you want to make sure you have those kind of coverages, but I don't want you all leaving here going, can we do these things? If, as long as you're doing it within the township's piece, we're all right. And I just want to make sure I'm very clear with that. Yeah. I mean, but if you're acting as a group, doing what this is, and, you know, you're not stepping outside of the guidelines in which that you function under, you're pretty covered. So, you know, I don't want everybody to get so nervous that they can't, that you don't want to do what you need to do here, because you are covered under that level.
Yeah, I didn't come here to scare anyone, but to show you what restraints a group like mine works on.
Sure.
You know,
Was that purchased by Marple-Newtown? Has that gone through? The space that you're discussing?
the county purchased
The
it,
county
Delaware
purchased it.
County, so it's going to be a county park.
My understanding is that we're still mulling about creating a new path in middle school. After her.
Oh, I thought that's the next, we've been, there have been a series of developers that have come along that we've had to rise up and fight. I haven't heard that one yet, but,
What was the question?
Yeah,
The question was, Joe had said that he had heard that potentially there was looking at building a new Paxton Hollow Middle School. And the question was, is the Don Guanella Woods of Marple the site, right?
I have heard nothing to that effect. And Paxton actually is a huge property. They could put a second school on that property now if that, you know. But I hadn't heard anything like that. And I don't know, they'd have to, can they take it from the county? I doubt it. Right
No,
now.
you can. And one entity that has eminent domain can do eminent domain against another one. But regardless of that, because that was the whole, if you remember, Doug, when the school district got in the litigation with Marple Township back in the early 2000s over the
The old Marple School.
the confiscation, as the school district refers to it as, of the old Marple School, exactly. And the Third Circuit said that they had the right to do it. Joe, I think that, and I'm not speaking, obviously I'm not a member of the school board, but I think that they did look at that as a potential area of putting a school, and I think that they have walked away from that.
Just a process question. When people are asking questions on the floor, are your microphones on? Because it's very hard to hear most of the questions unless somebody who hears the question can repeat it for us.
Okay, can I hear me?
Yep.
Yeah,
Address the chair.
microphones are key.
And in our October and November, we had a time limit. I think we reached that. We asked about time limits for presentations. Yeah, I think we have reached that.
I said my piece, so. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. Yeah, before you leave, Doug, Doug knows everything about the history of Newtown. So if you're
Everything.
looking for a walk, he would be perfect for the job. And I would strongly suggest that you two get together because
Okay. Yeah,
combining
I'd like
these
that.
two
I know we've
groups.
corresponded over the years. I don't think we've ever sat face to face.
Right, that would be great.
Okay,
I love your wife.
my wife,
She's a musician. and-
she is.
Yeah.
She is.
my
I love
parents
her
were-
too.
So, yeah,
Oh.
you best, you best. No, that'd
Okay.
be great.
Oh.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, next is 11 reports. And we'd like to hear a report on the Stony Knoll Committee comments that have transpired so far in the past year. Mr. DiVincenzo, would you like to handle that?
Sure. So to bring everybody up to speed, there's the Stony Knolls development property that for, was it Nolan, I believe, Nolan Properties was talking about developing, and it had come in front of our committee to give comment to, as well as other committees and councils within the township to provide. So we provided our own comments to try to give to the Board of Supervisors so they could talk with the developer about possible changes to their plan to make it, number one, more walkable, because ultimately our committee is here for preserving green spaces and walkability of this township and trails. So that was a few of the major ones were on the walkability of recommendations, ADA sidewalks, both within their own property and along the major connecting route on Wayland. Let's see what else. Potential for natural surfaces within behind their development and connecting to the neighboring ones. I'm not actually sure. I know we heard, John, that Nolan did accept some of the comments, but I didn't get a list of exactly what ones it was. I was searching through my email. So I don't know. I know, Leonard, you had commented to John and I earlier. Do you have an update on exactly which of the comments they accepted?
Yeah, so just to kind of frame this, and Steve, if you can you change the camera back to the board? I know you're doing a lot of work today, but it's just the podium right now. Perfect. Just to kind of frame this, so just in case there's anyone out there that's listening to this as well. So the comments that you provide come up to the Board of Supervisors for the Board of Supervisors to evaluate whenever there's plans that have been submitted to the township, right? So what we have asked as a board is for you to review plans, provide the comments to the Board of Supervisors for us to take into consideration as we are looking at land development or anything that is kind of in your purview. So we had the meeting with Stony Knoll, I believe that was in the middle of December or the beginning of December. And Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong in how I'm phrasing this, but after having that initial presentation, it was just a preliminary presentation. So the way the land development works is sketch plan, preliminary, and then final. They did decide to incorporate sidewalks on one side. So you will have a sidewalk inside that community. So I know that the Board of Supervisors was very adamant about making this community walkable. I think that your comment letter helped not only frame the issue to the developer on behalf of the township, or from the township's perspective, but it also helps the Board of Supervisors in articulating and giving more weight to what our opinion was. So there is when they come back for their final plan submission, you will see sidewalks incorporated in that plan.
That is correct.
Thank you, Leonard.
Okay, that's great. Leonard, we certainly did appreciate the opportunity to take a look at the plan, and we'd very much appreciate moving forward with that.
Bethany has raised her hand. Bethany, if you just unmute and you can turn your camera on, you should be ready to go.
Well, I wish I could turn my camera on. It's not working, so I'm sorry for that. But I was wondering, I don't know where the Stony Knoll development is being proposed. So would you mind filling us in on that one?
So, yeah, so what happened was, because we did not have a meeting in December, this was like very short notice. We got requested with a subcommittee within our committee to essentially make comments. So it kind of happened rather quickly. We got this sent on. Myself, John Custer, DeLay Archer, and Amy Blaggriff all got together and kind of reviewed the subdevelopment drawings from Stantec for Nolan Properties to kind of take a look. See, I don't know, I'm not used to, I wish I could pull it up on the screen to show the drawings, but basically with my background in engineering, understanding simply the plans, John Custer asked if I would kind of start writing up and drafting a document, which I did, and really was making recommendations on if they're going to develop this site, what can we do to make sure that the development of this falls in line with our committee's goals, what we're trying to accomplish for the township. So it's, how many lots? 27, I think it was, John?
Yeah, I would just, if I can, I think that what Amy's asking, or I'm sorry, Beth is asking, I think she was asking whether or not, where the location was, is that correct?
Yes, that's what I was asking,
Okay.
because I don't know where this development is proposed.
it's up off of Whitehorse. If you're going out Whitehorse, if you
Right
know
after
where Whitehorse is in the
Academy.
township, I should say.
Mhm.
If it's the last light in Newtown Township before you enter into Easttown, if you make a left there, that's Whitehorse. You would pass Whitehorse subdivision, then there's a open plot of land that's been farmed in the past. I think this last year it was just left kind of to be just a kind of a meadow area. And then there's a home spot that's another, that was about 40 acres. There's another 40 acres that someone owns. And then there was this 40 acres that's owned by Mr. Nolan, who was looking to do the subdivision at that before you get to Hunt Valley Lane and Circle.
Mhm.
It's right off Wayland Road between Whitehorse Road and Hunt Valley Lane. Basically.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
And I would just add, one of the things I think, Beth, and all that we learned from this is I think, as the township gives us these recommendations, and hopefully we have a little bit more lead time, several of us went out just on our own to drive through them. And it's so much easier when you're actually seeing it. So I took 2 opportunities to just drive around the property so that I'd feel comfortable making, these recommendations from this small group. So I absolutely recommend it to all of us as we have these opportunities to comment, to try to visit.
And if I can just kind of add to just piggyback off of that, because I know it was one of the comments that was put in the comment letter from this board, is that they did not, and I'm paraphrasing. I mean, I think the comment had a little bit of a terseness to it, but that there wasn't a lot of leeway to it. That was 100% the fault of the Board of Supervisors and not that of the administration. So I don't want it to, I mean, the administration is running around 24 hours a day, 7 days a week as it is, but this was 100% a mistake, if you will, of the Board of Supervisors, in the sense that, we are also getting used to you all being new. And since it is a new committee and one that we want to be a vital part in this, we kind of just concocted the idea of, hey, we have the EAC do this and other boards that provide comment letters. Let's make sure that the Trails and Greenways does it as well. So I understand fully that it was a time crunch, and I apologize for that. I can tell you moving forward, it won't be the case, and you will get it with enough leeway. But I wanted to clarify that was a mistake, or that is something that the Board of Supervisors is going to take responsibility for, and not something that fell through the cracks with the administration.
I would also make note going forward that when we get the plans in, when we deliver them to the other committees, we will deliver them to you at the same time. So you'll probably have hopefully about 30 days before the board is going to see it. So for you to do your evaluation, meet, and make a full committee recommendation, because ultimately it should be coming from all 9 of you as a group.
It would be nice to have a committee meeting in between so we could all.
That's my hope with 30 days. You
Okay.
should always have a committee meeting in between.
And question, again, sort of process, since there was a report that all of us had input and Anthony authored, is that then shared as part of the minutes? Or certainly it would be good, I think, for the members of this committee to see the scope of the responses, et cetera, because I know we learned a lot in the process, and I think we can take those learnings and apply them as we have other opportunities to comment. So I don't know where that document stands.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, I can send it to, no, I can't do a send all. So Steve, I think you guys already have it.
If you will just share it, we will attach it to this minute.
To the minutes, yeah,
this
that would be
meeting,
good.
and make it part of the minutes if that's comfortable with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if all you're doing is providing it and nobody comments on it, and you just provide it, yes, you can send it to all.
I can, okay, that's great. So just
just
nobody reply all to this email.
Yeah, just don't everybody reply to it. Just you can, because all you're doing is sharing information. That.
Okay, thank you. I think that'd be helpful because it was certainly it was a quick but a good learning process for the for the four of us involved.
I just like to say Anthony did a great job bringing this in. John brought us together and said, hey, guys, we have this goal to do. And Anthony really helped me understand the plan, so I definitely understood a little bit more. And, thank you to the team. But yeah.
No, thank you.
And he was able to set up one of the meetings on Zoom, which I wasn't able to, so that's even better.
We're having our own technical difficulties trying to get all of us with working microphones and everything as well. So
Yeah. Okay, moving on, also a report, we want to report on the committee's public trail walk held on December 18. Jerry McCarthy.
It
Wonderful
was,
job.
it was a nice walk. Thank you. We expected rain and we still got over 30 people, primarily from that meetup group that signed up to come. It also started at the historic 1742 Tavern, and that was open, and Kathy Cavalier and the Historical Society were incredibly welcoming subsequently because they held a Christmas tea that day after our walk. So we started at 12:30. There were multiple people giving stories about the trail and about the township, John and Leonard. And oh, we also had a speaker at the beginning who was Dr. Cheryl Davison, who is a University of Pennsylvania veterinarian, talking about Garrett Williamson, which is going to be the location of subsequent walks. I've chatted with Carol about that, by the way, so they're approved to do that. But it was a lot of fun. Everybody had a good time. We got back to the tavern at 2, which is when the other part started, and the parking worked out. That was over at, by the way, over at the church. They opened up the church so that people could use the facilities there if they wanted to. And they will be happy to do that in the future as well. So you don't have to rent maybe or if you want to still rent a porta potty, that's fine too. But that's how that turned out.
That was one of the best walks that I've been on, so thank you very much, Terry.
Thank you. You were great.
yeah, and you know, this is the second one we've had now, and each time we've gotten good responses from township residents, and all of a sudden asking more questions. You know, this one was good. You know, Terry said she had set up the meetup online to try to get people in. So we had people from neighboring townships that were interested, but more importantly, we had people that didn't really understand what we were doing. They just thought, oh, it's an organized trail walk, great. And then we got to inform them a little bit more about the committee. So each time we have these, it seems, I mean, it's the second one and definitely getting better. So thank you, Terry, for the effort of
I think
pulling
we've got
together such a great group.
a nice group of people, and they're looking forward to the next walk, which we'll talk about.
Yep.
Great. I think you're on a roll.
We're
Good
on a
job.
roll.
Okay, moving on, we have new business. Mark Carr, you're up twice. We're going to welcome you to the new committee.
Thank you.
I wonder if you could just give us a little bit of your background.
Certainly. So I moved to Delaware County to Newtown Square about 3 years ago. My wife's been a resident in the area for quite some time. We got married in 2018. So I relocated from Doylestown to the Newtown Square, and I'm really enjoying my time there. I work for Daikin America, which is a international chemical company, as a key account executive, and work from my home, which has been convenient since during COVID.
Okay. Is there any particular area you would like to get involved in with this group?
So I'm open at this point. I don't have a specific goal in mind
All
at
right.
the moment.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Nice meeting you, John.
Okay, next item under new business, discussion and potential action on a committee structure. So at our November meeting, we had a discussion on how this committee should be structured. And we had before a number of subcommittees, and the thought was that maybe we should consider another form. So I did meet with Anthony and Amy. And I think the upshot of that meeting is that perhaps we shouldn't have quite so rigid a structure. Perhaps we should set up a group to deal with whatever comes down the road on an ad hoc basis. I think the strong feeling was that we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to lead a project. So that was, I think, the upshot. I'd like to hear from Anthony and Amy and what their thoughts are on it.
Amy, you want to go first?
Yeah, I had, as I looked at all the groups, and I myself run nonprofits for a living, not gonna take on the 501c3 incorporation of the Friends, sorry, but anyway, one of the things I have found is that when we talk about things like quick wins and all, everybody's raising their hands and wants to get involved. Some of them have time constraints, et cetera. So in other words, we're all busy working professionals. That is very, very clear. We're all dedicated to this cause, and sometimes we're available to do even more, and other times we're not. So that was one of the things that I had floated, that perhaps leaving it more ad hoc, which would also give us all the opportunity to comment on hopefully most things that come along, rather than one small group coming and sort of having something hatched and then presenting it, et cetera. And I guess I'll just end by saying that I feel very privileged that my schedule has allowed me to participate in a few of the different projects that have come up. Each time I've learned and gotten to know some of you a little bit better, starting to see strengths, that I didn't know everybody before, et cetera. So I just think that if we do a little bit more of that ad hoc, it will give us all an opportunity to really start to mature as an entire group, as we start to see, where our interests lie, where our strengths lie, and we can all have some feel goods about these quick wins. So that was certainly my thought, and I favor this more fluid approach than a bunch of tightly managed holes and squares and circles and things like that we're plugging into.
Okay, thank you. Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, John said the main thing, the biggest takeaway is everybody wants to have an opportunity. We want to give that opportunity to everybody to lead individual projects, whatever the size and scope of them are. There's going to be a whole bunch of different ones. Some of them are going to be these potential grants going after. Some are events that we want to plan. So that was, again, I agree, John. It's a nice way. And, Amy's recommendations, a lot of it was of how these things should be more loosely organized, and we're going to benefit from it. So we've got enough committee members, which is nice, where everybody really can get their hands in and help each other out as well. So really all I have.
Okay, I'd like to open that up for others in the committee. Comments? Does
Yeah,
this
John,
look like a good way to go?
Well, I'm on the opposite end. So from a low hanging fruit, I'll go for the highest fruit possible. That's what I typically do on a daily basis. So anything that's more difficult, including grant writing, budget decisions, things like that, you can count on me for that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
I'm sorry, who said that?
Joe.
Joe, okay, great, thanks, Joe. I mean, I'll just add that I like this type of a less structured approach. I mean, for exactly one of the reasons being what Joe just said, he likes more of a strategic hand in things that are more complex, and he may have some time to do that in one moment, and in another moment he may not. So having us sort of be able to come forward and let the committee members know what we can handle, what complexities we can take care of, and what quick wins we can get. I think this sort of more flexible approach is really good. I mean, I serve on other boards and it's not normally like this in my experience. There are the boxes that you're in and you have your defined responsibilities. So I really like this. I think we have enough people on the committee that we can really work together and, you know, see where our strengths and weaknesses are and tackle bigger projects when we have the time and get the low hanging fruit quickly when we can. So I like it.
I'm going to piggyback off of Aaron and Amy. I mean, just the more we work together, the more we're going to learn each other's strengths and weaknesses and learn who's best to go to for whatever reason. So kind of mixing it up and having an opportunity to work with a variety of people, we can learn who works together better and who has what skill sets, where we could say, hey, we have this project. Hey, you have this skill set that I think would be really great. Would you mind helping me out? And it just helps build kind of a little bit more of a community within our group.
Okay, we did early in the game come up with a list of skills inventory. I think I put it online. This, I think, can be helpful, but I'd like everybody to take a look at what we did and from your own standpoint, how you might want to change it and things you might want. So this would, I believe, provide a good base in order to make a decision. Steve, suppose a project comes in the between meetings and needs, are we permitted to send this out? We can't have feedback because of the Sunshine Act. How do we get around that?
I guess it would have to depend on what the project, part of that I would say is depends on all showing up.
Steve, we can't hear anything you're saying.
And here, yeah.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I forgot to turn my mic on. I would just say it kind of depends on what you're trying to do. If you're all just going to show up and work on a trail, you're probably okay as long as you're not making a decision as a group. If you're going to make it, if you're making a decision and or giving direction back to the board, you have to come together and meet. And so we could have a meeting outside, but that's the reason why we need to be looking forward enough in your planning to try to make sure that things that are going to be happening as for your group, that it gets before you as a group and have a chance to move on it.
So John, may I comment on that? So in relation to this, I know we didn't have a meeting last month, and in relation to the Stony Knolls thing then, how does that work? I mean, we didn't have a quorum with us because we had 4 of us.
Yeah.
And then we came together with that, just given the timeline. Obviously, the goal was to not have that happen before, but I mean, the reality of it is fire drills happen, things come in, we want to do what we can to help the township and to, meet objectives. So if there is something that comes in that requires a turnaround in between meeting times, is there, I'm trying to figure out like how this.
Let me just say that, I work with, we've got multiple groups that meet every month. I mean, you're not the only ones that do this. On a rare occasion, what happened last month happens.
Okay.
And I mean, it's a very rare occasion once we get going. And so, and when we get you meeting on a regular basis, and normally you would have met last month and it wouldn't have been an issue. We just didn't have a place for you to meet. Mm-hmm. And we had some concerns about doing a full virtual meeting. So we're in a different place today with all of those things. Obviously, we're back in here. We can meet. Last month this was full of books, and so it just wasn't possible. So I think it's going to be a rare situation once we get going, and once you get used to your cycle, and you're putting things on your agenda, and you're staying on top of things. I can't say it'll never happen, but potentially we can do a workaround as we need to. One being, do we make it something that we take before the board of supervisors when they meet to take an action to make it happen so that we can move forward on it? Or if we have to, we'll have a special meeting for you guys and do that. We've done that before with a group if we need to. But I would say that if the staff's doing their job and you're doing your job of trying to make sure we're communicating in between meetings to make sure that we have everything on the agenda, most of the time, we should have everything on the agenda that needs to be addressed.
Okay, thank you. That helps. That helps a lot. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're generally in agreement as to how we move forward by a structure. And it's going to be a lot more open-ended, free-flowing. And we got a lot of smart people here. I'm sure everybody can handle that. So looking forward. Next under new business discussion.
Hey, John, sorry to interrupt, but I just would like for the minutes to just note that everyone has looked at the skills inventory and has looked at the org chart and agrees to where they are on these two documents, because I feel like a lot of really hard work went into this, and there are some areas of responsibilities here. And for my part, I'm just saying that I approve of where I am on the skills inventory and where I am on the org chart. I think that's a good sort of just framework for us, even though it's going to be a little bit more open-ended than a lot of subcommittees that are signified and specialized. But I think it might be a good idea for everybody to kind of just approve those so that we know those are our framework documents.
Yes, that's what I suggested. I would like everybody to take a look at what we have and perhaps email me with any changes or additions, subtractions, whatever. Because I think this is going to be the basis for going forward on a lot of these transactions.
Okay.
For the minutes, that skills inventory, just like we're adding the,
It's actually.
Microphone?
Yeah.
it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't put it's attached right now on the agenda. And as it's attached right now, it automatically stays attached for the purpose of the minutes.
Thank you.
Okay. Next under new business, 12.3, there is a grant opportunity. It's WeConservePA. It's got a January 27 deadline. It's a regional trail workshop grant up to $5,000. And basically it's looking for education and safety or training. And number one, we have a time frame concern, but I just wanted to throw it out. If there's any projects that anybody feels strong about that could fit within this category, we should try to go for it. Now, looking at their handout, it's trail safety programs, trail-related environmental education programs, training on trail accessibility and sustainability, training on design, construction, maintenance, but also trail-related educational materials, which presumably could include signage, videos, and things like that. Again, the application requires a little bit of detail. I just want to throw that out and see whether anybody has an interest or an idea for that before we let it go, because this is the only one for the year.
I have an idea because we already have some videos that Beth did for us for Drexel. And I mean, it doesn't take enormous funding, but those are definitely educationally oriented. And if Beth made a series, we could do a series about each of the environments that we have.
Would you be able to come up with budget for that?
I can spend the money.
That's okay. Well, I think what John's saying though is like, what do you think it costs? So when we went to the grant.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's writing in her time, and I don't know if she would be identified as the trainer and then allocate some funding for her time.
Well, I think they're out-of-pocket costs that they're looking for.
Yeah.
So one thing that we could use the money for, sorry, this is Beth virtually, like a gimbal mount, for steady cam type of thing. So the videos are nice and steady. If we're going to try to make a series out of it, that could be something to invest in. A ring light, they're super cheap, or some type of lighting. So if we're in the woods or whatever, we have better lighting. So there are things that we can invest to make videos a little more professional looking. And along those lines, you know, of course, I'm always like, signage is awesome, interpretive signage. You know, if we look at the parks that we have, the trails that we have, you know, Drexel Lodge, just because that's one that already sort of has an established trail, kind of putting more permanent signage about, you know, the pollinator gardens and that type of stuff could be options. I would kind of hold off on the Newtown Meadows until the trails are officially put into place where they're going to be, but there are some signs that you could say like are easy wins to get into the Meadow Preserve. So there's definitely some options out there. It's just getting a good proposal put together in that short time frame is my biggest concern, but there's lots of ideas.
Well, so does Joe have time
together.
for that?
Well, I got a quick question. So Steve or George, is there anything in place right now for signage? I know that we've discussed this at end like 3 different times, specifically with the preserve.
So, George, do you want to answer what you did with that? Your mic on? Oh, yeah, my mic's on.
Yeah. So what exactly is the question with regard to signage at the Meadow?
So George, if you put together anything with respect to what it would cost Public Works for the signage there, I mean, if we could supplement that through this grant, sounds like a win-win.
Sure, I think we could. I think we could if we knew what, you know, and I mean, we could work with Beth or someone else. I mean, if we had some ideas on some things we wanted to put up there, yeah, I think we could put that together.
So would it help for this application to actually get a quote from a sign vendor to just show some due diligence has been done? This is what it would cost to make up this many signs, generally of this size, posts and so forth. And then George, you know, you could always pull together whatever labor associated with installation. We put that all into the package. And then we talk about in the grant application, this is just one element, obviously, the vision of how this grant would be useful. The other one is the educational videos. So it's all kind of bundled into this application package. We have the narrative in which we're discussing the 2 different ways or possibly more that we're going to use it. And then we have quotes pulled together in a nice little breakdown of that cost estimate for the application. Does that make sense? I mean, not having read that document, that's the only, just from what I've heard, that's how I would think of structure.
I think that's a good start. And they do require a budget, source of funds, and then income. There's 80% of the cost. We'll have to come up with 20%, but I think we can do that with in-kind labor and handle that. But yeah.
Well, and we do have some funds dedicated in the parks budget for signage. So depending on what we come up with, we could probably cover, you know, whatever's proposed.
And one of the quick hits that we talked about that we're beginning work on now is signage for the Meadow Preserve. So I think that would be a really nice fit.
Well, and speaking to Beth's point earlier about, you know, looking to see where the permanent trails are, we could probably come up with some signage that would be movable and would be generic in discussion enough that maybe it's not where the permanent trails are, but they would give people some, you know, direction and some concepts of what's going on out there.
And George, I think that would be an easy thing to do, just talking about meadow habitat and kind of keystone species and different things like that. Like that's a very doable thing to look into. And I know Aaron, our little group had been talking about signage too, particularly signage at the beginning or at the entrance to the Meadow Preserve. And I have a separate discussion going with George about some of the, oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Standards that the township may have and stuff like that. So that is something that I'm also been talking about and just got an email today. So I'll share once I kind of respond back to that, I will share it with the group too. But I think you're right, George. I think there's definitely some possibility to get some stuff that can work in multiple locations within the meadow.
I think that's a really good idea because that's sort of the quick hit. And then the longer, sort of focus there is parking, right? And that's not something that's going to happen overnight. And, we'll eventually need signage and things for that. But I think this is a really nice way to kind of, dovetail what we're trying to do with signage and maybe, get some money from the grant. So in terms of grant writing, is this something that Joe might be able to help us with?
Yeah, I don't have a problem putting it together, but we just need the information to put it together. So we'll kind of coordinate what we need and then put it together.
So John's got this document. I'm trying to find it right now
It's
online.
online.
I have it up right now.
You have it up now?
Yeah, but I think there's gonna be more to it. I think there's gonna be rules with it. So specific formatting, et cetera. You don't want any reason. The other thing too is it says up to 5,000. I would not ask for 5,000. I don't know how you feel about that. I mean, I'd make it what we need it for.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. You don't, if you
Don't throw it right out if you say 5,000.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to ask, you have to show enough detail to show what you're really gonna be spending versus just a general.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need quotes. So we would need quotes from a sign vendor. We would need quotes of any potential equipment that Bethany might need. And then put that all into it, list the references. That works.
So if you guys can get me what you already have, based off the signage, George, I could reach out to you to find out who your typical vendors are. And we can go from there.
Yeah, that works.
All right, so I'll get an email started with Amy, you're on this sort of like task with the signage for Meadow Preserve too, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So it's Amy, Bethany, and I, and then we'll bring in, I'll get an email started with Joe and George.
Works.
Okay,
Yep, make sure you don't go over 5.
Well, that's the three of them in the subcommittee then, which then allows for yourself or whoever else you would like to
Yep.
potentially jump in with them. If
Yep.
if I want to jump in or everyone's jumping, whatever, Terry wants to jump in, like we can all kind of help out that way if necessary.
Okay.
So that works out very nicely.
Yeah. Okay, I
Great.
think it's a good opportunity. Okay, next, future trail events. Terry.
On January 30th, Beth has the day off, and she has agreed that it would be appropriate for us to do a walk, probably starting at Drexel Lodge, and we can determine where exactly we go, also contingent upon the weather, whether we want to do a short walk or a nice long walk that would take us back here to the library. I just spoke with George about potentially having the trains open, because then you would have a nice historic aspect to this, which is easier to advertise on the township Facebook page and on the meetup. And again, I would say that we would meet underneath that nice pavilion thing, which gives people cover, and we had refreshments last time. We had water, apples, snack things, and we could disseminate any information about the trails and greenways at that time too. So if January 30th works for everybody, we'd like to have that approved if possible.
Okay, I'll
Motion.
entertain a motion for that, or do we have any more discussion first? Okay, let me entertain a motion.
Second.
second,
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Yay. So we just, Beth, I'll talk with you about the time, but if we start again like that 12:30 ballpark, it's a little warmer. And also, I wanted to tell you that Kathy Cavalier, I see there's a conflict on February 12th, but Kathy Cavalier will be doing an event, a chocolate walk. She would like to have that coincides with a chocolate event at the tavern that they're gonna have cocoa and all sorts of stuff there. So I didn't know about that. I didn't tell her we could, but I said I'd talk to everybody about it. February 12th looks like a busy day though.
Sounds delicious.
It does, and it's just before, Valentine's Day, and that's sort of a New England thing. They go from place to place with hot cocoa and so forth, so. But that we could wait on.
Yeah, we will have a meeting before that.
Okay, good.
So what if it gets a little further down the road, then,
Mhm.
One of the things, just before we move on from this particular topic, we've had 2 walks so far, now with the 3rd. At some point, obviously, we're going to run out of immediate spots within our own township. But one of the things I was proposing is we could also do the same things with a lot of the same groups of people in the neighboring township, in the neighboring townships trail networks as well. One of the reasons being to inspire some of the things that we could do, because there are some other trails in the neighboring townships that do things very well, have done them before, but very well, including signage, including the type of surfaces, different things like that, just to give us ideas, but also then make community of a part of it. So little things like the Radnor Trail, that was a rails to trail thing. I'm drawing complete Oakhawken or Okahawken. I don't know how people say it. But stuff like that. So maybe as we get into maybe the next meeting, I would propose that we put on the agenda for the next meeting a potential targeted location to go outside of our township, talk with whatever potential either trails or parks committee is in our neighboring community, and do a joint one together.
The joint one sounds good.
Yeah.
I did forget to say that I've spoken with Carol Rourke, Executive Director over at Garrett Williamson, and she is amenable for us to have a walk there, which could happen March.
That would be great, yeah.
Yeah, they have that property. You could do multiple walks.
have you talked to her at all about a 5K?
Yes, and they are overwhelmed this year with work. We could do a 1 mile kids run at their harvest festival in the fall. She's comfortable with that, but to set up an entire 5K, they just, with COVID, they just don't have staff to support and would want to do a good job. And that would involve expense. We have talked to people about that, and it's rather complex, but yeah, they think it's a great idea. They just can't imagine doing the entire.
Are there any other, again, I'm fairly new to the township. Are there any, like on the calendar that's like a yearly annual thing, 5Ks in Newtown Township currently?
Episcopal used to have one. I don't know what they're doing now.
Yeah, it's 5.
The Talk Institute, which used to have property or rent from Garrett Williamson, used to have a 5K trail run. But the Talk Institute has since moved off of the Garrett Williamson property. So I don't know if they will still be hosting that there or not.
Okay, well then maybe we can talk about finding other ones again in the adjacent communities, and for lack of a better term, piggybacking off of that and just being able to be a part of it and aiding any support and help that we can, and trying to get some of the people that are involved in our community volunteering for it. But that way we're kind of promoting.
Nearby, there's like media, and then there's a rose tree run, and there's, it's.
There's one that I did with the Rose Tree Park. A couple years in a row I did that.
With the dogs?
I've done the dog, yes, we did the dog one. There was another one, Pint in the Park. I think they had a couple there because they do a bunch there.
Yeah.
So there's at least something that we can plan if we can't get a 5K at the Garrett Williamson site because of how busy they are. There's other options.
Willistown Conservation Trust each year has a run amok back through the fields of Chester County. And I know that's very successful.
Okay.
And the Radnor Hunt.
Yeah.
Ran that. That's fun because, and that's why I was talking with Carol about it, because you're literally running the course that the horses will do later in the day, the steeplechase run. So you're running through water and over,
What time of year is that?
In the fall.
Fall?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they didn't do it last year, but that's what I was saying to Carol. If you do it at the same time as the Harvest Fest in the fall, you've already got the hay set up for the kids, for the hay bale maze, and that it would just be great. So sometime.
Sounds good.
Hey, fun.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna throw it out there. Terry had talked about a possible walk on Garrett Williamson property. Literally, it's my backyard, and I used to lead nature walks there as their camp person. So I am very comfortable and would love to lead a walk over in Garrett Williamson, as long as I'm not stepping on people's toes. I don't want to be the one like, hey, I'm doing all the walks if someone else wants to, but I'm excited about that one because I know the property quite well.
Carol would love
That's
you.
good.
Yeah.
Just doing a time check, everybody. It's 7:23. If
Yeah.
we want to think about a
Yeah.
7:30 wrap up ideally.
Yep, okay, let's do that. Let's move on to 2022 Trail Summit. This is done by Friends of Haverford Trail and Township, Haverford Township. This is the biggest trail event of the year. I have a 2021 that shows all the speakers. People from various townships come in and speak as to what their trail activities. It's the place to be. I assume all of us, if we wanted to, could come, Steve, without a problem with the Sunshine Act.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And looking at a presentation from someone in this group, who has an interest in doing that?
I can help.
Who was that?
Anthony,
Anthony, all
John,
right?
as I mentioned, I can help out. I'm gonna be away
Yeah,
that weekend.
okay.
So I can help put,
Yeah.
maybe you could help put it
You two
together
would
with
be
me.
Good
Yep.
together.
I
Yep.
mean, is it indoor? It's not indoors, right? It's outdoors?
It has been indoors.
Oh, okay, so I can help put together a PowerPoint.
Okay, great.
That was Anthony and who else?
Joe,
Falcon.
And Joe. Great, thanks.
Okay. Next item, information on a possible SAP trail extension. Steve?
Just would make note that we're in conversations with SAP about that possibility. And we'll continue to work on that the next several months, trying to make that connection that we've been talking about doing for several years. It would allow us to connect from where the trail is now on Goshen, hopefully out to Boot Road, then over, which would actually allow us probably to work towards connecting into Drexel Lodge.
that's great.
And I did sit through the supervisors meeting where that initially started. I was very appreciative of what the Board of Supervisors did then. And keep it up. It's great. Okay.
It's fabulous. It was such a, I just wanted to say, I thought it was, just a great update that you gave us, John, on all the work that the Board of Governors had done. I think the continuation of that trail, the Goshen Trail to Boot Road, is going to be awesome. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
And John did bring it up to the residents and the people that joined us at our latest walk, because obviously they're at the end of the Goshen Trail. And he kind of went through that. So that was very helpful for myself. And I know a lot of the township residents that we're talking to on the walk back, they'd make a lot of good comments about their asking a question.
And I think much of it is doable this year. It's not carved in stone. There's a number of hurdles, but I think they potentially can be overcome. And I'd like to get that in on that. And I guess we're there now, goals for 2022. I think this is going to be a wonderful year for everybody. I think there's some things that are in the works that are going to gather a lot of fruit as we go along. We've talked already about the trail walks. Terry, you've been walking on water, and I expect you to continue on that. That going forward, I think these trail walks have been wonderful.
They're fun, aren't they? Yeah.
I
Thank
really
you.
do. Also, I'm looking forward to maturation of the volunteer groups. I would like to see them getting together, talking with the township, see how they could benefit and take some of the load off the township and maintenance and a bunch of other things. I think flowers could be planted along the trails, and I can see that absolutely blossoming. I think the official map can move forward significantly this year. I think our job would be to come up with a map itself. We do need to wait for a new zoning ordinance that can, but what the official map, for people that don't know, there is a provision in Pennsylvania law where a township, if it would have an interest in acquiring a property, could create a map listing those possible properties. If the map is recorded in Delaware County, then a developer that would like to move forward to develop that property is required to meet with the township for a period of up to 1 year to see whether something can be worked out. I think it's one of the best tools we have in our arsenal, and I look forward to getting that approved going forward. As far as trails are concerned, we've talked about SAP. The trail would go off the Goshen Road through SAP property and then down the backside of the Springhouse development. There's a meadow. That would take us to Boot Road. We would cross Boot Road and go down Reese's Run on Claude Ebaton's property. That could get us all the way down to Route 3. And that would be a huge trail extension. And hopefully that could come about. Also, Township is involved with the Pico Rail Trail. I assume that will get considerable traction this year. Let us know what we as a committee can do to help on that. I think there's a possibility of a trail at Garrett Williamson. Terry, you have done initial possible work in that area, and that may well come to fruition. We'll wait to see. I think also the trail going would be an extension of the trails in the Newtown Meadow Preserve. It would go into Echo Valley and come up Echo Valley Road and create a loop, Goshen Road and then the trails in Lissitor. And that could be an opportunity that could present itself this coming year. Again, we'll continue reviewing developer plans. I'd like to get folks involved in grant writing, requests for proposal. I think that's going to come down, and certainly trail signage and access. Other ideas? Anyone?
Well, you just said, I mean, the access thing, I mean, ever since we did the walk over at the Meadows, we had talked about that in one of our earliest meetings, was a potential parking lot area to be able to get people back in there where they don't necessarily have to walk through the listed property to get there. I mean, it was really nice. That was the first time I had been there as when we did that walk. It was really cool. So that's definitely one is looking for potential access spots for it. The Meadows being the biggest one, just because so many people don't even realize they can access it.
Yeah.
They think it's private. So that's, I think, one of the biggest ones. Hopefully this grant that we're going to look at is just, another way in which we can do something better with signage. $5,000, we wouldn't even get the whole amount anyways, but that's not going to cover the parking lot, but at least it's a piece of it that gets us better spot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it would be nice if that was a little bit more welcoming. And I know Episcopal has the legal right to put a sign on that 10-foot strip of their property, but I don't think it's acting like a very good neighbor. And it would be great if we could get that down.
Well, and that's why, Anthony, I agree with you. I was going to bring that up in John listing goals for 2022. I think signage and potentially parking for the Meadow Preserve should definitely be on our list of goals for 2022. And we'll have to, get further into that discussion later and build out a subcommittee around that, obviously, which I would like to be involved in. But as John just said, if there's an extension to Newtown Meadow Trail that goes through Echo Valley, if there's a loop, then the parking on the Goshen Trail might be okay, but it would be nice to have parking on that other side on the property that the township owns next to Episcopal. And, we put up, sort of like we were talking about earlier, some more temporary signage now, but then get some more permanent signage later when we figure out that parking situation so that we can provide better access.
And then another one of the things that we talked about previously, which I would like to see on the goals, is just the helping out in any way we can with the reservoir, being helping whatever we can to have Delaware County acquire that reservoir from Aqua, and any other potential interface we can do with, because I drive by it constant. Every time I do, I think about how amazing it would be. I'm even already scouting out like where you could have a parking and access location with trail signs and whatnot, and kind of the overhang with the trail map, and how great it would be to be able to walk around that perimeter of the reservoir lake would be nice. So that's another one that I've been thinking about.
Yeah, we've been sending out feelers. I think we'll continue to do that. This was an attempt done back in the 2000s to have Delaware County acquire the reservoir. It fell through. Delaware County didn't want the liability at the time, but there are people on the Delaware County Council that are feeling very strongly about that. So hopefully that will come to fruition this year, and it would be wonderful. This would mean beaches. It would mean boats without gas motors. And it could also mean a 10-acre parcel for this particular township. So,
some of the best hikes I've ever done in my life have been around lakes and reservoirs, just because in Pennsylvania, you don't get a lot of opportunity for vistas. You don't get a lot of opportunity to see a wide open spot. When you have big bodies of water, you do. So that's why it's always so nice to be able to have a trail system along that. I think that feeling of feeling small in a big world is what a lot of us love about the outdoors, and that's a good opportunity for it.
and there's precedent. Green Lane Reservoir in Montgomery County has done that with us. And they've opened up that whole reservoir up to the public. And I don't see any reason why that can't be done here.
Along those lines with the reservoir, could we talk to Aqua about a potential easement where a trail could go on? I know that's one of the proposed trails along Crum Creek, and that part is Aqua property. Having the county buy a reservoir is obviously cool. That would be awesome. But right now, Aqua is the owner. So can we kind of play both ends of the field in case the county doesn't buy it, start, have a conversation with Aqua and see if they're willing to work, having a trail in certain locations or something like that along those lines?
It's going to have to take a lot of people coming together, of course, but the CEO of Aqua has recently expressed an interest in discussing. So hopefully we can take advantage of that.
Nice.
Yeah, so we have it on our list of goals, and we'll have to move forward with, assigning people to further investigate.
Billy, I couldn't hear what you were trying to say for a minute.
Oh, I said, in Philadelphia, there's a reservoir right off of Ridge Avenue. So,
Wissahickon? Right near the Wissahickon Trail?
no, it's near the Philadelphia Zoo. It's
Okay.
hidden, but it's beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah, oh, that's
Really
great.
nice. When looking also in goals for the meeting schedule, are we gonna have I know this past December, we didn't have a meeting, but I noticed there was a meeting for December. for 2022. So.
The only reason we didn't have it is Steve said that this room was filled with books, right?
Yes.
Okay,
So it was just a one-off. It wasn't like every year, I think holidays, we don't have anything that month. I think it was just an immediate issue. And then, we've since moved our meeting around to the second week to go around some of the other committees and council. So I think we're supposed to have them, correct, Steve?
Our intention is to have the meeting unless we get there and occasionally a committee will say, we don't have enough to meet on this month, but typically we have them every month.
Gotcha.
okay.
Any
Going
other
back-
comment on goals?
Yes, going back to the goals. We've been doing these great walks. We're getting good crowds. We've been verbally telling people what we're doing and why we're doing it. I think at some point this year, creating some type of single page handout, whether it's half a sheet, double-sided, or one sheet, or what, kind of with what trails we're working on, what projects we're working on, and where they could potentially help us. Whether it's coming to these meetings that we have, or talking to the township supervisors, or some type of call to action would be great to be able to hand out at our walks. It doesn't have to be immediate. We kind of need to know what exactly we're doing and what our projects are, but something so we can tell these folks that are coming with on these trails, like how they can participate and how they can be part of what we're trying to accomplish, I think would be good.
It sounds good. Would you want to take a stab at that?
I can work on it. And again, like I said, I think once we kind of get our plans in place, it'll be easier to write something up along those lines. But yeah, I can definitely work on it. If anyone wants to help out, I'm happy to have an extra hand in that.
That'd be great. Give me a call if you need details.
Thank you.
Okay, old business, updated information on the Delaware County Open Space Grant. Denise?
I believe that you all were aware that we got the grant, and so we're moving forward and to have some information on the board of supervisors meeting at the next meeting that they have at the end of the month, moving us forward and taking us to the next step. Hopefully from there, I'll be ready to bring something back to you at your next meeting as
Excellent.
to how we're going to move forward.
Okay, great. Companion to that, updated information on the rail trail feasibility study grant.
That is all part of one.
Is that-
It'll be,
okay.
that's what the grant was for.
Okay,
And we'll just be putting all of that
yeah,
together.
all right. Any additional business? Any board comment? Any public comment?
Mr. Chairman, I do have something. And Steve, can you re-promote Supervisor Roberts? Like, got disconnected. Perfect. So first off, John, congratulations to you on your reelection. Same thing with you, Anthony, and you, Amy. Mark, congratulations to you on making your first meeting. For those of you who don't know me, my name obviously is Leonard Altieri. I'm one of the supervisors here in Newtown Township, along with Supervisor Roberts Lightcap. 2 Mondays ago, I guess it was, or last Monday, January 3rd, we were both elected as chair and vice chair of the Board of Supervisors, respectfully, for the 2020 year. So we're going around to the different boards and commissions, introducing ourselves, and not that you know us already, right? Introducing ourselves, but also letting you all know how much we appreciate the work that you all have been putting into this committee in particular. This is something that was, not even a year old yet, and you guys have hit the ground running, and you have been doing a lot of good things. And so just wanted to come in and say thank you for that. Also wanted to let you all know, as we have said to you time and time again before, that you have a board of supervisors behind you that is willing to work with you to ensure that the Trails and Greenways master plan that you're tasked with implementing can get implemented. In addition to other resources, in addition to other activities that this committee wants to put together, you have a board of supervisors that is in back of you, 100%. We might not agree on all the things that you might want to do, but for the vast majority of things that are implementing that Greenways and Trails master plan, unequivocal support from all of us. So I wanted to just reiterate that to you and say thank you. And Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, I don't know if you want to add anything else to that or not.
Yes, thank you, Leonard. I apologize. My camera is not connecting. But I did want to just reiterate what Leonard had said and thank you all for your time and your energies and your talent. We are really looking forward to this. This is a major goal for us as a board to move these trails and greenways forward. It's really important for us to be able to connect with the community through these trails. And Leonard and I we're both big users of trails. I've got kids that use the trails all the time. So we really do appreciate all of your time and effort. And again, to just repeat what Leonard had said, you've got our support. And at any time that you need anything or you've got a question, please reach out.
Thank you very much. Having you folks at our back is certainly very comforting. From my standpoint, I have noticed a new wind at the supervisors, and it's very welcome. I very much appreciate some of the stances you've taken in the last couple of months, and I think we're going to have a wonderful new township before us in a short period of time.
Thank you, John. That means a lot to us. Thank you.
Yeah, and congratulations on the recent appointment too.
Thank you. We're doing a lot of moving and shaking, and so I appreciate that, John. And there's a lot of good things that are coming in 2020. So, and with you all doing everything that you're doing, it'll just make it that much better. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, any items for the next agenda?
I had mentioned it earlier, but just basically one of the things was talking about other potential locations that are in neighboring townships for future trail walks.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, do I hear a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, it moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
John, hit you back.
Thank you, Stephen, for doing the technology here.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's been a little rough.
Thank you all.
Okay, thanks.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Hope to see everybody soon.
Yep.
Great meeting, guys. Mark, welcome.
Thank you very much. Can you show me, is there a website or something for this trail summit that I can find out more information on?
Yeah. Try